Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Pivotal Podspective, the show, of course, where we chat to extraordinaires from everywhere, that rhymes, I like that, about what they do or have done or can do with their clients to help people to pivot. We're all learning. We're on a quest, Adrian, aren't we, to learn as much as we can.
It's a never-ending quest, though.
It is a never-ending quest, and never stop learning. You'll always learn from other people, which is a skill you never, ever get tired of. Well, I'm your host, Elliot Brown, and my wonderful co-host, of course,
Adrian Dorobantu.
And I'm here in Essex, hence Essex Business Radio. And Adrian is ex-Essex, and now where are you?
I am based in Romania, in a town called Baia Mare, near the border with Hungary and Ukraine, in a nice, lovely mountain area where it's pissing rain for about 2 days now, and it seems like we're getting flooded.
Well, it's been flooded around here, mate, actually. So I think it is everywhere.
So let's say I live in maybe Scotland from UK.
UK. Yeah. Good luck with that one. But no, it's a lovely area. If this is the first time you've seen the show or you're watching this on a replay, then give us a hashtag. Put where you are, where you're from, and put hashtag replay. If you're watching this live, then drop us a comment now. Let us know where you are. If you come through the group and you haven't gone into StreamYard, just drop your name in there as well. We'll give you a shout out. Give us some love hearts. Give us some thumbs up on whatever profile or platform you're on. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. Sorry, not on Instagram. We're on YouTube. On YouTube, of course, you can give thumbs up. And on Facebook, you give love hearts. And if you want any questions at all, guys, then drop them in the comments and we'll get that on. So listen, we've got a very, very interesting guest this evening, an extraordinaire in her field for sure. She is in the VA world. If you don't know what a VA is, then carry on watching. If you do know what a VA is, then this is going to be a very, very interesting show, because this is something that has not just grown in the last 10 years. This has grown hugely just this year alone. So we're going to be chatting with today's guest extraordinaire, VA entrepreneur Rebecca Newenham, about VAs, outsourcing, and how you can get the time to develop yourself and grow your business using the new virtual world of business. Rebecca Newenham founded her virtual agency, Get Ahead VA, back in 2010, just over 10 years ago, after a career in corporate buying. She was looking for flexible employment that would enable her to work around her 3 daughters. So she put her thinking hat on and set up the business. 10 years later, Rebecca runs an award-winning team of over 40 virtual assistants and franchises as well. So without further ado, let's bring her on the show.
Oh, I'm loving this applause. Thank you for having me, guys.
Hello. How you doing?
Yeah, really well, thank you.
Look at the branding. Look at the branding there.
I'm all about the branding. I've even got my lovely Jerry here, who comes with me when we do exhibitions and things. Face to face. She is coming with us on our stand. So yeah, I'm all about the branding.
All about it. So that's Jerry, is it? Did you say?
That's Jerry.
And why Jerry?
G for Get Ahead, I guess. And I'm about to publish a book. I've been writing it for the last year, and she features within that book all around the franchise and flexible working. So she's been brought to life, and I'm very proud of her.
Very cool. Well, I've seen images and photos and stuff on social with you and Jerry. Well, I'm sure we'll cover that in a little while. You're in Guildford, right?
I am, yes, in Surrey. So yeah, been here for the last 20 years. So lovely and easy access into London, and yeah, people seem to know about it. It's good old cobbled high street and things. Yeah,
it's a lovely place. You've been to Guildford, Adrian?
I think I must have passed.
There we go. What are you doing?
My telephone answering team are on it.
Oh, don't worry. Yeah, I must have passed through it, at some point, but I never really stopped and spent some time over there. No. But I think Guildford and it's Surrey, Kent, those are two They're close together. No, it's been a lovely area. Every time when I've been there, actually, I've tried to. I was saying I will spend more time at some point. Never happened, but it looks way better than over the other side of the bridge. I don't know why though.
Yeah. Oh, controversial. But anybody that doesn't know and isn't in the UK, it's just southwest of London, and probably I would say a couple of hours, hour and a half drive to the coast. In fact, as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great place to be. Listen, I'm going to go straight in with this because VAs are a big thing.
Yeah.
What's a VA? Tell us what a VA is straight off.
Very good question. So VA generally stands for virtual assistant.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that often flummoxes people, it's like, well, what does that actually mean? So virtual being remote, and then assistant really can cover a multitude of sins from somebody like a remote PA through to somebody running social media and marketing. So for us, when we started out, we were Get Ahead Your VA, your virtual assistant, and we've morphed into your virtual agency because we cover more than, I don't want to say just admin, but that it covers a wider area. But VA generally stands for virtual assistant, being remote and supporting clients not in their office.
You even put a sort of virtual business support as well. I've seen that on the site, and that's definitely, I think, is that something new that you've done recently, or is that sort of the virtual business support? Has that been something that you sort of labelled along?
Yeah, good question. So probably about 5 years ago, we separated it out to business support and marketing support. Yeah. We're finding, we were building momentum and clients were asking us for more than we perhaps had thought we could offer. And I find it really interesting. So we often describe it now as anything from telephone answering, providing you with a virtual assistant, right through to PR and marketing. And I think that sort of covers it. And even I've got clients that come to us saying, all right, my laptop's broken, can you help me fix that? So I like to think we can sort of help anyone with anything within the business sort of support area.
Yeah.
But I suppose those two areas like marketing and business support, those are the main areas that people are asking you to help them with. Okay.
No, absolutely. And they will start often in one area and they may then start gaining confidence and traction and think, oh, actually, I quite like to do some additional services. And I think that's the beauty of how you sort of nurture a client. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is perception. So telephone answering, for example, is a great starter for a startup because they don't want to be scrabbling around in their bag looking for their phone or giving a mobile number. So if we can take the calls and give them a virtual landline number, it just sort of sets them up, makes them feel a little bit more like, this is a real-time business.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a valid point. It saves time and makes you look more professional. Give us a list of the sort of benefits that you consider, that the top benefits these days in having it. Because let's face it, this year it's definitely blown up in the virtual world, hasn't it? It's been a growing industry for the length of time you've been in it, for sure. As you said before we started recording, the States are probably 10 years ahead of us on that. They've definitely been outsourcing things, and makes sense logistically wise in the States. Probably makes sense to do that, of course, because you've got such a wide area and spread yourself too thin. But this year more than ever, now that everything's become virtual, everything's online, and you can't necessarily have everybody in your office. And in case you're starting a business, you don't actually need to have people in your office. You can have them virtual. You can build that team. What are the biggest benefits that you sort of think are for in that virtual world?
Yeah, really good point. So I think if I look at a new client, often they've done everything themselves, and then they're suddenly thinking, well, hold on a minute, why did I even set this business up in the first place? I can't be good at absolutely everything. So I think a key benefit is enabling a client to really focus on what they do best, and then gain traction elsewhere. And if I look at an example, so with lockdown, we started working with a brand new client. It was the MD and a team of 11 actuaries. So they were based in central London, quite traditional in the sense that they never worked from home. They commuted into London, they had their office, they did their thing, and they went home. Well, obviously, lockdown happened, and the MD was like, what we're going to do? And he describes our virtual assistant as the glue to his business. So he wanted somebody that would nurture and look after them. And actually, it came at a really good time when suddenly they were all having to be working from home. And actually, fast forward 6 months, the team are, oh my goodness, my mental health is 100% better now. I'm working from home. I haven't got that commute. I don't think I actually want to go back into the office. And I think that's a lovely example of how it can really, really affect somebody that thought they might not even ever need to outsource.
Sure.
That piece. But I think it's time saving. It's bringing skills in as and when you need them, rather than paying for somebody just to be around and sort of do ad hoc pieces for you.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, and I'm thinking about how I've been maybe over time. And listen, not every entrepreneur is a great manager of people, right? This is it's pretty famous, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think what you try and do, and I have clients that do this, and now try and teach them not to do that through my own experiences in maybe learning those lessons, is you're absolutely right. If you take somebody on to do a particular role and they don't have, let's say, a full-time position in that role, what you try to do is get them to do other things. And of course, the person that is employed by you wants to please you and will try and do those things. And they're capable of doing that. Of course, having VAs, you don't need to try and spread somebody too thin by giving them 3 job roles, which happens a lot in businesses that are growing or scaling up. And us, because we're capable of doing multitasking or doing, putting multiple hats on, unfortunately, we consider the fact that other people can do that as well, which isn't right. So going to VAs, of course, you can have a bit of time there for that side. You can have a bit of time for the admin, a bit of time, as you said, for social or whatever, social posts and managing those bits. That in itself can only create a better relationship with the people you do work with in your business.
No, absolutely.
I think it also applies on the other side. Sometimes if you get someone and like you said, you don't give them enough, and maybe they have a bit too much spare time on their hands. And sometimes if you get someone and it's good, but it's good on its own field, you kind of start getting a bit of trust, and you ask him to do way more things that are not on his field. And I think it goes in both ways, and that's why having a VA, there's that VA is specific for those things, and you need to maybe hire someone to do something else. Am I right saying that? Or
no, absolutely. And I think if I look at us as a business, my team know each other so well. So one of them might be working with a client, and then they're asked to do something, and they're like, well, actually, this isn't really my remit, so let me bring someone else in. And I think you're perfectly right, Adrian, that whole piece around a VA is proud of what they do. They're really passionate about their skill set, but they're very good at saying, actually, no, this, I'm not going to just try and learn this for learning's sake. And so the client is getting the best at each time, which is really important.
So when you've set up 10 years ago and you had this idea, what did you quickly find out were the right and wrong things to do? I mean, I'm intrigued on this because obviously it's changed a huge amount. And where you sort of thought, I can do this, did you quickly have a lot of clients that sapped up a lot of time, so you had to grow? How did that work?
Yes. So for me, I always knew that I didn't want to do the client work for very long. I had a vision, and I suppose my retail buying background and the things I enjoyed when I was doing that was the branding and creating something. So from the beginning, I always had a vision. I could see, I used to say, I've got my 5-year plan, and I'd like to have a few people working with me in 5 years. When actually, within literally about 3 months, I realised that I am not an Excel guru. Certain things I was thinking, this isn't why I set it up. And I think quite early on I realised that I knew where I got my energy and where I was enjoying doing things rather than where I wasn't. And I thought, come on, the client deserves top notch here, and if I can't do it, then I'm going to find someone that can. And I think that's happened really quickly. So that's always helped me sort of be quite sort of transparent from what I was doing. And the networking was a big thing for me, going out and just listening to what people were asking for. And then I said, I could offer that. And then it's amazing once you get talking. And I love a good old chat. And I love telling everyone what I was doing. And then people love to talk as well, don't they? And tell you what they're doing. So you suddenly start creating this amazing network. And LinkedIn was very powerful for me even then. I remember being, really on it, making my connections, starting to post things. And I could see that would be really useful in the business. And it's proved to be, an integral part of that. Yeah.
And now we've got lots of VAs. I mean, more have sprung up this year. Definitely, more virtual workers have sprung up. Then sort of setting little businesses up where they've been made redundant, and they're looking, they're looking to, just do some admin work because they were doing it before. And why can't they do it virtually? I've had a look at what a lot of people are doing, and I think some people, and I'm right or wrong, maybe spread themselves too thin. You're definitely focused in one area. You started off and then you branched. Yeah. As an advisor to VAs, and I'm sure you do this with your VAs, don't try and take on too much, right? Don't try and do everything. Try and maybe stick to what you're good at. Would that be a recommendation if you're a VA and starting out?
Yes, if I'm looking at some of my sort of more junior team will often just say, well, what is your passion? What's your strength? What are you good at? Let's nail that. Let's give you clients that fit that remit. But also, let's look further down the line. Perhaps you want to know more about social media. Perhaps that's an interest that you've got, and therefore let's do some proper training in that. Because I think that's what I get frustrated when someone says, "Oh, I'm a social media expert," and you realise they just like going on social media in their spare time, and then suddenly they think they can run it for a client. So it's about honing, but also giving people a bit of a growth plan as well, and not assuming they have to just stick to what they're doing. But it's about really identifying what makes them tick and where they want to go, and also saying it doesn't matter if you don't want to take in any more clients. It doesn't matter if you don't want to do additional services. You've got to be very honest with yourself. So I would say that to someone starting out. Don't worry if you try something and it doesn't work either. It's that whole honesty piece, but being very truthful to why you're wanting to do it.
Yeah. I mean, the passion and the skill together, if that works, then you're going to attract the right people anyway, aren't you? And I would have thought there's still a word of mouth around this industry. Is there? If you get a client that's going, "Oh my God, I can't believe taking somebody on has actually helped me," then they're going to tell somebody else that they work with or they know in the business arena.
Yes. Well, if I look at my core business, so stripping out my franchise areas, 50% of my core business is referral now.
Really?
I'm really proud of that, because I think that proves that it's about exactly what you said, Elliot. Word of mouth, the trust, and actually your friends and connections are your biggest sales force.
Yeah, for sure.
You get it right, of course.
When you get it right, Adrian, we've spoken about this before. I mean, it's a lot of people are scared that are, let's say, got control of their business. If they're a micro business, a professional, to in essence allow somebody else to do some of those things. It's not just a control thing, is it? It's a trust thing as well. Adrian, we've had this conversation before, haven't you? Just the thought of going, I don't need to be doing all these things. And you spoke about this earlier, Rebecca, that we try to do too much. And when you started off, you tried to do things that weren't necessarily what your skill set is or what your passion is. Adrian, we've spoken before about this, mate, haven't we?
I think, you just described ourselves, by saying that.
Yeah, basically.
It's honest. I have never really, I have delegated stuff, but not my own stuff. So I've delegated areas where I knew I'm not that good or I don't really have experience. But when it comes to delegating my own stuff, I have a kind of fear doing that. And I'm not sure why, though. That's what I would be quite curious, Rebecca, when you started delegating stuff that you've been good at and they were your main skills, how you've done it. Obviously, I suppose you need to be quite a good leader in order to create some processes and things like that for whoever you're gonna delegate. But how was that change? How it was first time when you've done it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back all those years, Adrian. I think for me it was that whole baby steps thing of actually thinking, being in that right mindset. So if I look at when we launched the franchise 3 years ago, I had to spend a lot of time writing a nice juicy manual, the Bible of how we do things. And that was really interesting when I was having to sort of go back through and think, well, what are all the steps that I need somebody to do to replicate how I operate, for my core values and things. And actually, too, you're right, it's quite daunting. But actually, when you've got that vision, that's the only way you're going to ever make it bigger or scale it. So you have to sort of hand elements over. And we often talk to clients as well that say, how could anyone possibly do it better than I can? Well, sometimes quite easily. But it's about sort of giving people a confidence and taking those smaller steps to then enable them to see the positivity that comes out of it.
Yeah, because, me and Elliot, we both very tough with ourselves. We critique ourselves a lot, and that's why, especially if we have something an idea, and if we delegate that to someone, it doesn't turn out as we want most of the time. Probably just because we didn't give the right instructions. And I'm saying now for both of us, not just for either for me. And what I've realized is the fact that if you keep doing that, you kind of hurting yourself as well, just because you get a bit frustrated on things. Obviously the person that you're working with or the person that you've delegated becomes a bit frustrated because what the hell these guys want, or why just not happy with what I'm doing. And I think that's my main issue, in doing.
I totally get that. And we've got some quite good instructions on onboarding. So once we've matched the perfect VA with the client, then we talk around, you know, okay, client, this is what you need to do to onboard your VA, and things like that would be, you know, share your passwords, give them a synopsis of your business. What are your values? How do you like to operate? What kind of language do you like to use? Because if you can do a lot of that up front, then it saves you getting into a pickle later on or getting frustrated because they don't quite understand.
Yeah. And I think that's such a great point as well that you both brought up, because it is difficult. Delegation is not easy at the best of times, but being clear about what you want from that, and then not getting frustrated that you're not getting the thing back because you haven't described it correctly to someone. Do you find that quite a lot when people first come on board and they first start working with you? Is there some frustration there, or you've ironed it out so smoothly that it just becomes an easy transition?
Yeah, I mean, it has certainly got easier, and I think it's both sides. It's making sure that the VA is very honest and transparent. And I always say that, you know, if you take a client on from us, you have to say whether you've got the time, and you have to be honest about whether you can do it. Because the last thing we want is for you to go, yes, I can help you, and then find they're sort of getting out online to work out how to do something. So honesty and that integrity piece is really hard. And obviously we've had our fingers burnt in the past, and you learn from that, which is why things like the onboarding is so important, and we will invest time in that. Yeah. And it pays off then.
Yeah. Oh, listen, it's like anything, isn't it, in business? If you're going to work with a client, getting to know them well, so you both have confidence and you both have that sort of trust element, only means that you can develop that relationship and grow. And even more so in this industry that you're in, and the virtual world, you've got to build that bond, haven't you? So you can work together, because in essence, it's just it's a replacement for having a huge office with loads of staff in it. Now you can have maybe half the members of staff that don't even have to be in the office, but you still got to have that bond. You still have that connection.
Yeah, have that rapport, haven't you? And I think the clients I described earlier, the large team of actuaries, you know, our VA has organised in lockdown to do cake baking and quizzes and things like that. And it's been amazing how they've really gelled together as a team as a result of that. So I think there's some quite good imaginative ways that you can sort of bring that teamy feeling together in a much more efficient way.
Yeah, yeah. So you love this, don't you? You love doing this, don't you? Is it the love of helping and support sort of business people or professionals? Is it the growth of the business? Is it the scaling up of it? Is it the ability to keep adding franchises to help as many people as you can? What is it that you love about what you do?
Yeah, no, so I'm naturally very nosy. I love I always said I should have been a policewoman. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? So I like that feeling of really matchmaking people together and seeing everyone benefiting. You know, I'm not being also silly about it, but you know, even from when I launched the business in the playground, I've been looking around seeing parents that were fed up with their commute into London, fed up with the job they were having to do, and I felt so frustrated for them, because I thought, actually, you want to be proud of the work you're doing, you want to be professional, you want to hold your head up and say, yes, this is what I'm doing. So surely there has to be a solution for that. And the flip side to the clients as well, you know, why shouldn't they benefit from the expertise as and when they need it? Why should they sort of waste money just for the sake of employing somebody, and like you said earlier, then getting that person, moulding them to try and do more jobs that they can't do, where they then get frustrated and it becomes a bit of a sort of hamster wheel.
Yeah. What do you like to do in your spare time, Rebecca? I mean, you know, it's not all about business, is it? You see, I mean, the whole point of the thing in the first place was to have a business where you had some time, some flexibility to be able to do stuff virtually. Yeah. Do you get that? Do you get as much time as you like?
I am good at that, Elliot. I have my week plan. I have my breakfast with my friends, coffees and nice lunches, and I've got 3 daughters. My eldest one's just gone to uni, so I'm mourning her this week because my friend has left to go to Cardiff and she's now in lockdown.
Oh no.
Having teenage girls, you can imagine, keeps me on my toes. And Martin and I, my husband and I, we got a dog 18 months ago, so he's been amazing, especially within lockdown. We've been out and we live very near the Downs, so exercise is quite good for me. And I've just rejoined a gym where they do different exercise classes, so one of my daughters and I are going to start doing body pump. So it's all about the weights, and I love a new challenge, and I think that's the thing that I've sort of enabled me now to get that balance and friends. And I think a lot of you would agree that with lockdown, you suddenly realise who you want to see in your life and who you want to spend time with. I'm like, all right. Yeah, so that's been quite interesting. But no, I've got a lovely balance, and as you know, I've always worked from home, so now I don't have to apologise about that, because that was an interesting one. Well, come to my office, HQ, and pretend that it's in some sort of swanky office in the middle of Guildford, and actually it's in my house. But, that's been a really interesting transition. I think people are being more honest, aren't they? And I've done so many Zoom calls where somebody's partner's in the background, and 6 months ago we'd all be sort of cringing, but now I find that really interesting how that's really transitioned. And Adrian, you're in Romania. You can be open about where you are. It doesn't matter. It's still part of the current situation, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think especially since more people found out about Zoom, or let's say online meetings, Google Hangouts, whatever you want to call them, you can still be personal at the end of the day, because you can put a face to that voice, even if you don't do a handshake or.
Absolutely. I've got 2 new business coaches, and I haven't met either of them, but we've been working together for the last 6 months, and I don't feel like I've missed out not sitting in an office with them. And you still have that level of intimacy is probably the wrong word, but you sort of get down to business much quicker than I think you probably would have done before lockdown.
Especially because I think with those things, and you as well, the way how I see you, Rebecca, you're very focused. So sometimes meeting with people that can just distract you in a way. So from your I don't know.
No, really true. I have to say, sometimes on some of those massive Zoom calls, I found myself sort of wandering off onto another screen, and you can sort of bring yourself back, don't you? But I think majority of them, and I was saying earlier to you both about, I run a LinkedIn local group, and we met face to face in the olden days, and I might have had 20 people. We now have
the olden days,
pre-lockdown. But we now have 40, 50 people coming on every month, and there's no way I'd have that in a live environment. And what I've loved is the breakout rooms and being versatile that way. And actually, there are huge benefits to communication and building relationships still.
Yeah. I mean, networking for you was obviously a great tool to use back then. And you've always done the networking, have you? You've always been, over the last 10 years, you've continued to do that.
Yes. So my first ever client was an all-women networking group, so I was doing the admin for her.
That makes sense, though. I mean, we don't get all men networking groups. The men don't support themselves, but women, genuinely, we've had this guy a couple of times on the show. Really do support one another, don't they, in business?
Oh yeah, no, I cringe at, I co-host Guildford Ladies, and I sort of cringe at that name. However, it is all female, and we do meet at 11 o'clock, and and we get down to the business, and it's great. But networking, I remember being slightly petrified at having to stand up and do an elevator pitch. And it reminded me of when I was at school. But I quickly realised that because it's my business and I was passionate about it, of course I'm going to talk about it because I want to meet new people. So yeah, networking was a real springboard, and I still co-host this ladies group. And then the LinkedIn Locals come about in the last 18 months. So I would encourage any listeners to look for local LinkedIn groups because they are, they're really valuable.
Interesting. I haven't. It's not something I have looked at. To be fair, so
yeah, me neither. And me and Elliot, we've been to quite loads of networking events, and they were crap.
No, well, I think they really, really vary, don't they? And part of my mentoring with my franchisees, and we had our monthly call today, and we went through talking about different groups, and some of them are loving BNI, for example, which for me has gone, but actually really interesting. They've all got different personalities. The different regions have different things to offer, and so you can't do a sort of a blanket feeling about them, but you instinctively know where you feel comfortable and where you're going to meet your potential clients or your connections. So
BNI is a strange one. I mean, I don't mean that in any negative way at all, but you're absolutely right. I've been to quite a few locally, been invited to them. In fact, I actually got warned by a guy quite high up in BNI that came along that knew I'd been to a few of them and sort of said, you can't just keep going to them. I said, well, I keep being invited by people and asking to fill a seat. What do you want me to say? Which I think is a bit strange. So you've got these, and he's high up, and he's been very, very high for very, very many years. Hi, Phil, by the way. And he said something to me which stayed with me, which I won't repeat now, but it made me look at how you network slightly differently, and I actually took some advice from somebody that actually was being a little bit offish with me, shall I say. But I found that you get that in BNI. You do get these groups that are really modern. They've got a really modern way of running their meets, and then you've got these others that are quite antiquated. In essence, you can hear a pin drop, and the people who are in there, just there's no I can't imagine a great deal of business gets passed, but the bigger ones that are got that more modern feel, you do. And this is across the board in networking, right? I mean, there's so many more groups that have popped up in the last 6 or 7 months. Now they can do it virtually as well.
Hugely. And I'd love to do a shout out. Sarah Yandel, my latest franchisee in Essex, and she's joined a fabulous, hello Sarah, fabulous BNI group, and she's really reminded me of actually she's now got another team. So she's got us as a team, but she's feeling that her BNI buddies are very much extension, which is amazing. So yes, it's really interesting. Yeah.
And which one? Where's she joined? Because there's obviously quite a few around Essex, isn't there?
I should know. Sorry, Sarah. I don't know the actual BNI group, but it's.
I was just curious because it's a good group, but that's quite. Well, listen, we've got a couple of questions that we're just going to pop up on the screen. We're going to do this one in a second. My mum, Penny Lee, big love to you, mum. Says hi, evening. Good evening, Mum. Yes, Rebecca, of course. Mike Allison has said good evening, guys. Hi, Mike. Thanks for watching. Hi, and of course, Sarah says,
hello, Sarah. Well
hi,
done.
Sarah. Sarah. Big love to you. And she said it's BNI 100. Oh, look at her little there, nice one. I like that. If anybody else is watching or lurking, then let us know you're watching. Let us know you're watching, whether it's live, and give us some hearts or thumbs up if you like. We're talking about any questions, of course. Feel free. We'll answer as long as they're not rude, and we may answer those as well. Who knows? So networking is and of course, networking. Everybody knows somebody with a business that needs some help. So that seems like a sensible reason to network. I think what Adrian and I've had in the past is if we're offering a particular service, it isn't necessarily always relevant to the group that you're with, and so you sort of.
I think it was, and that's why it's just that people that were not really interested in actually doing business, more in eating food all day long and drinking coffee for 15 quid that they spend on that meeting. Which I think those are just silly clubs. But my next question, actually, it was I want to ask you: did you found there was the people that you got good interaction with at those networking events and all that? They were a certain age group, or it was any age group?
Fairly mixed age group, actually. I used to find that when people were first starting out, they'd be really super keen, and then you might get the sort of the notorious ones that always pounce on a visitor because they want them to ram their card through. And I think it's people's behaviours that I've always found fascinating. So the ones that don't ask the questions but want to talk about themselves the whole time, or ones that might ask a question and then make a huge assumption about you and then quickly move on to somebody else. So I think it's quite fascinating watching people's behaviour and how they sort of deal with you, and also in their follow-ups. And that's something with the team we were talking about today. One-to-ones are hugely important, and I think people don't do that enough. So they might see you at a networking and then you might not see them again until another meeting, when actually we all know that you get the value in having more time with people individually. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I'm intrigued. Your elevator pitch, you said before.
Yes.
What was your elevator pitch when you first started? Can you remember?
Well, my daughter always sort of pretends, and she says, "Hello, I'm Rebecca Newenham from Get Ahead VA." And I said, but no, I think I just would have said, "I am a virtual assistant, and I'm here to help you grow your business." And I've always sort of said, we're the staff you don't see, the difference you do, to try and get that piece across about remote support.
Very nice.
10 years ago, I was going to really teach people what we could do. And I remember being at an exhibition and somebody going, "Oh, you're virtual, but you're standing here," all that sort of wise. Yes, you do meet, that whole thing where you're shaking people's hands at those exhibitions, and you sort of think, "Oh no, I don't really feel we've got a connection here." But again, that opened my eyes, because you can't make an assumption about people, and I'm a bit naughty like that. I'm quite black and white.
Yeah,
so that's a key learning for me. Was often it was the person I least expected to ever hear back from would be the one that came and connected me, and was a great client. So yeah, it was quite interesting.
Listen, as I often say, and there's a phrase that I've also, this assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups, basically. Which is true. You can never assume anything anymore, particularly in business, and particularly with people. The modern wealth, new wealth.
Yes.
Who wears a bloody suit these days? You just don't know, do you? Somebody can walk in, what you would class as scruffy, that's there, and they're multi-millionaires. I mean, you just do not know. And that goes for networking, but going to business shows as well. I mean, some of the people I've seen at business shows, you'd think, you'd never, you know, but you can't assume. And I think going into networking, doing that, and you must get that as well if you're, and particularly more so, I would have thought now, doing a virtual call, doing a video call, and getting somebody on there where you don't get that feel necessarily straight away. They may not be dressed as you would maybe expect somebody to be that needs some help. How do you get around that? What sort of questions do you ask to find out about them so you could sort of get a feel from what is in essence a small box?
So I will always naturally do a bit of detective work before I speak to them. So I will go on to LinkedIn, get a sense of what they're like, whether they're consistent, look at their website. And that's always a really good gauge, isn't it? If they've got old content on there, or I can ask a few questions. But I think sometimes you do have to give people a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. But I have rarely been wrong in how I feel about someone. And I think sometimes if I'm not quite sure, then we'll just do a small little piece of work and just sort of get feedback from the VA to see whether actually they are who they say they are, or they actually know what they want. Because that's often a big thing. Someone will go, oh, I need this help and I've got this. And then you scale it back and realize actually you don't hear from them, or their response time is really poor. And that's always a good indicator, as well as how keen someone is. Or someone could often say, "Oh, give me a proposal." And you sort of have to strip that back, because we all know those take time, don't they? Sort of do those and actually
and on what as well. I mean, if you're too broad, what the hell do you give them a proposal on? I mean, I used to like proposals back in the day. If you're doing a product, like a physical product, food room equipment was what I was in for a few years. It's not too bad. You give them a couple of options, and you can do that with services, but very difficult, I would say, in an arena where you're not quite sure how much time they're going to need. You're not quite sure what they need help with. And so you've really got to do a bit of investigating and ask those questions, haven't you?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I had a prospect call yesterday, an email yesterday, and someone saying we'd like a quote on some PR. So I sort of went back and said, well, we obviously need a call to work out what you want. Oh, can you just give me the quote? Can you just give me a quote? And it's like, well, no. And it amazes me that people think you can actually give them something of value with just a very few little sentences. We need to really get to understand what someone's wanting and check that they're being realistic in what they're asking for.
Yeah. Maybe that's what they've been used to. I don't know. And maybe that's other people, did it in the past with them. So they're not educated. Even today, I had a friendly call with someone. It's a good friend of mine, but his parents own a business. He's in the business as well, and he said, "Oh, maybe you can do some marketing, some promotion for me for Christmas." Okay, we have a website. Well, I have something over there. What do you want to promote? Well, I have no idea. I said, you need to answer all these kind of things. And he said, yeah, well, but if I answer all these questions, I don't really like it. It's your job to do it, because otherwise I feel like I'm doing it. I said, no, stop. You might have ideas, but you do fuck all about the execution. So you don't know anything about that. You need to actually let people know about your business, find out about the business, see exactly what you want to achieve, and in order for them to be able to provide some solutions. If you just tell someone, do that website for me, or do that marketing for me, or do that VA or PR, whatever it is, it's never really going to work. So I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So listen, we definitely alleviate some time, right? So clearly alleviate time, particularly if you're a micro or professional, right? If you're a slightly bigger business, again, you do that. I think you save yourself some money on that side, because of the fact that you don't necessarily need one person to sit there doing that job. You could have 3 people doing a few hours here and there to do those things. One of the big things, I think, and we talked about the show, is definitely, I love the whole virtual, way and having outsourcing as well. Is the overwhelm that people get business-wise as well, and doing too much, because we all try to take too much on, don't we? Yeah. And I have to be honest with you, we spoke about this before. It absolutely floors me at times, has done in the past. Not so much now that I'm going to some more structure and bits and pieces like that, and helping a lot more people out with the sort of those processes. But I've had it where it's just like I've got 7 hats on, and and 2 of those I'm really good at, and 5 of those I'm actually really shit at. But I'm still trying to learn it and do those things. It's really not worth getting to that point, is it? Where you get that sort of burnout and overwhelm when you've got a company like yours that you can go to and have multiple people, those 5 people that you're not very good at doing, and take that stress away. And it's like a breath of fresh air when you do that, isn't it? You must get clients that are like, oh my God, why did I not do this beforehand?
Yes, and actually we've done quite a bit of work recently helping, especially say business coaches. I think we had a consultant that was she didn't really know where to go next. So we've done a bit of work on that. So a bit of strategy, just a couple of hours to say, right, look, just keep calm. Where are you wanting to go? What are you doing? And then just by talking it through with one of the team, it's been really helpful to sort of give her a bit of breathing space. And then she said, right, I'm much clearer now on where I'm going. Let me come back to you in a couple of weeks. And that's building really nicely, because historically I've always said, well, we charge to the minute, totally flexible, do what you like. And actually now we're realizing that people like to have a sense of how much something's going to cost.
Yeah.
So the packaging bit is coming back into our sort of arena now. We're looking at different ways of just helping people relieve the stress in their head by knowing that it'll cost X amount to do a particular thing, and then we can build those blocks up again that way as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think just thank you for that. We have Mike Allison, and he said a few things. He said he's based in Essex, looking to working with a VA. What's the best way to get in touch? Mike, we're gonna leave some questions. We're gonna leave Rebecca's profile and the website and all the details just at the end of the show. But you can quickly go on Google and just type in Get Ahead VA, and you can find the website.
Sarah, who was on the course, she is our local. So yes, so Sarah at getaheadva.com would be your main one. So that would be great.
There you go. And he also said language, Adrian. Now, I've sworn more than you this evening, Adrian. But it's nice to see that you get it in the neck.
Yeah. Well, Mike probably wasn't here from the beginning, so
no, probably not. Yeah. So where do you see? Go on. Sorry, go on. Yes. Where do you see things going? I mean, listen, you've grown a huge amount in the last 10 years. I'm assuming franchises wise, you're looking to expand and bring more on. With a lot more VAs and people now getting into the field and people expanding that and getting a lot of business in the last few months. Are you now finding a bigger demand for the franchises? I
am. Yes, I've secured 5 in lockdown. I remember my action coach saying, Rebecca, you'll be absolutely fine, when lockdown happened. I said, but Nell, I need to meet potential franchisees. How am I going to get their trust that, I'm selling something legitimate? Yeah. And Sarah's proof that, she had trust in me to do it. So actually going back to our Zoom and sort of virtual conversation, it just proved that you can have those regular touch points. People do their research, and actually it's paid wonders. So we're just about to open Hertfordshire and West London beginning of November. So I'm really excited. Especially the London one I'm really excited about, because I think that's got huge potential, as they all have, but they've always wanted one in London. So
Oh, congratulations. You really are moving and shaking.
Try my best. But no, I think when you find something you really enjoy and you see a format that's working, I think it's really encouraging, isn't it? And I think lockdown has certainly helped people identify where they want to spend their time and what they want to be doing.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, having that focus through lockdown has definitely, and the fact that the virtual world has grown as well, has given the sort of business owner an option to go, you know what, I actually quite like spending time with my wife. I'm sure some have probably realised they don't as well, to be fair, but or the other way around, they like spending time with their husband, or they don't, but they want to spend more time doing the things they like to do and enjoy doing. And I think hopefully there's people out there that have definitely got a slightly better quality of life, that's like that life-work balance. Yes. And this is where, VAs, the virtual, support, wherever it is, whether it is on an admin side, whether it's on a, social media side, whether it's on a marketing side, they're having that ability to be able to work with those people virtually gives them that sort of work, health, life balance.
Hugely, yeah. Absolutely.
And that's
I wanted to ask you. Sorry, I just want to ask Rebecca something very quickly. You said you have 2 business coaches. Why?
I'm greedy. I've got 3. So and that's a big thing. I've always had a coach. So probably 2 years into the business, I was approached by somebody that was doing a qualification. So I had coaching with her for free, and then I remember having to pay £150 for an hour's session with her, and it sort of broke the bank. But actually, it was the best thing I did, because it sort of gave me. My poor husband didn't get it in the net with me talking about things. It was sort of suddenly I had support from outside the business. So I've got an action coach that is my own coach that I paid for, and then I'm on a NatWest accelerator program that I applied for, so I get coaching with that.
Oh,
and then a government-funded one. I didn't get any support in lockdown, but I have been allocated some additional coaching there. So I am a bit greedy, but it's lovely, and I feel very honoured to have that additional support and work with different people that sort of adds huge benefits to me and the business.
That's superb. So you've had to get one through NatWest and a government-funded one as well.
I know. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I knew there must be a tip over there, you know. So that's why I asked you.
Yeah.
And so do you get different help from different coaches? I mean, how does that work?
I have to say, I sometimes go, oh my God, I've got so many actions for all the different people, but I have separated it out. So I've got different themes that I'm doing with different ones. And actually, the NatWest Accelerator Program has been really fascinating because you get connected with other, they call them entrepreneurs, which I find really cringy, but you're with other business owners doing things. So with the book that I'm launching in the next few weeks, there's a guy that's written a couple of really high profile business books. So I've been linked with him, and he's given me his sort of top tips on how to do PR around the book launch and things. So it's amazing where you learn from different people, and I find that really fascinating.
Yeah. Do you read? I mean, you're talking about you're writing a book. Do you read as well? I mean, you're a prolific reader, but
I wouldn't say I was a prolific reader, but I'm very good on holiday. But I've got the good old Audible, so I've been listening to quite a few things online, and I have committed to trying to do a podcast a week. So I'll be adding you to my podcast.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be checking that out.
All right, no pressure. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, I see you very, very, so that's like, I'm just going to repeat myself again. I see you focused, and determined. I see the success that you have in all this. And that's why I mainly ask you about the coaches, just because it's something I never really had, and that's why I wanted to find out, where do you get all this determination and all this power and all that?
Oh, no, and I would really recommend, Adrian. I think it's finding the right coach and also realising you don't have to work with them forever. And as I said, I started with one, we got on really well, we developed a lot, and then I sort of was ready for different input. But I've always valued that bit around, actually, I can't do this just on my own. I've got an amazing team, and that ticks off that area. But actually, a coach has enabled me to sort of move it forward and have that vision and the goal setting.
Yeah, and let's face it, pretty well every successful person out there has got a coach of some kind, whether they pay them, whether there's a sort of a two-way thing that whether you've got a mentor and there's people that you work with. It's always good to learn. I mean, listen, these are great at doing shows like this. We've learned tonight. I'm sure viewers, listeners will learn as well. This is a great way of learning, but having somebody as a one-on-one that sort of gets to know you and can coach the best things out of you. We don't always do that ourselves, do we? That's the thing.
We can't rely on friends and family. The last thing I want to be doing,
because all they do is stroke your ego, for God's sake, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes they piss on your ego, but yeah.
They piss on your ego as well.
Oh.
Well, listen, Rebecca, it's great to have an insight into this. I think there's a lot of people that I've spoken to even in the last sort of 6-8 months that still don't know what VAs are, or still don't understand the virtual world, and they're business people, and they've been around for years. It surprises me, but I don't think, in the next couple of years I don't think anybody will not know what they are. So it's been good to have an insight into a very, very successful firm like yours. That you're not just VAs. Your business support, your virtual support system for business owners in an array of different ways. And I commend you on what you're doing. I think you're doing a great job. And congratulations with the growth of the franchises as well. That's good, and that can only go from strength to strength.
Let's hope so. But I've loved being on, guys. Thank you so much. It's always lovely to sort of chat and meet different people. And I love the idea of the podcast, and I would encourage you to keep getting guests on. Yeah. And it's lovely to get that interaction with the questions and things as well. So you do know that.
Just before, when we're gonna wrap things and all that, I think I would like to have an educational tip from you. And even though you've answered to that, but scattered in different questions, how should people should choose a VA? What are the things they should look for, but on both sides, to a VA and to them as well, in order to make sure that they give the right information and also to choose the right VA for them?
Oh, blimey. Right. Yes. So I think from a client point of view, it's being as clear as you can about where you want support. So I would often say, right, you think you need a VA, spend the next week writing down exactly where you, potential clients, are spending your time. and then question, is this the best use of your time? So you might be quite surprised at where you find you spend time. And that's quite useful then to be able to share with us and say, look, this is where I'm spending time. And then you can say, actually, I don't really feel that that's the best use of my time. So we can use that to help identify the key areas that they need. And then for a VA, it's about asking the right questions to the clients and also giving examples of how they've helped other clients, which is really helpful. So we have a number of case studies, for example, that really showcase how we've made a difference. And that could enable someone to be a little bit more imaginative about the support we could give them.
Okay, and I suppose never really choose a VA that says they can do everything, like email marketing, accounting, I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's sometimes where people can fall down. They grasp onto something and think that one person can do everything. It's highly unlikely they can, which is where something like an agency, or if you're very clear on one specific task, you find the expert for that, and then you have a confidence to work with other independents as well.
Listen, I definitely learned over the last couple of years, being more in the service-based industry, that you can't be everything to everybody. You're better off being something to somebody, and that's definitely goes for the VA world, as you just said then, Adrian, and we spoke about earlier in the show. I think there's VAs out there that think, I just want to offer everything. The problem is actually, the weird thing is, if the business owner or the professional or the entrepreneur, let's use that phrase, feed them, and so it goes, oh yeah, like, I actually really need help. And they go, well, I could do this, this, and this for you. All they can think about is all of the things that they've then got to do to help that VA. And I've been in that situation myself. And it goes, and again, that's overwhelming. What you do is you get scared and you back off, and you don't get that help. So, chunk it down. Like everything in the world, in business, chunk it down into what you really need to help with, get that help. And the other things that aren't so important, maybe look at that as you start getting that first amount of help. That's the way I think would be the best way to move forward, right?
Also probably think a bit logically. If you see someone charging $10 per hour and they do like the job of 50 people, and seeing someone charging $50 per hour and they do the job of just one people very well, it's kind of, a no-brainer. You understand that you need to go with a $50 per hour person for that specific task.
And pricing's a big thing, actually. We haven't really spoken about that, but there is that thing of actually, you do get what you pay for. And on the flip side, if we have clients that are saying, oh, that's not the hourly rate I'm prepared to pay, then we've got a confidence now to say, well, we're not the right fit for you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You charge hourly with Get Ahead VA then, I suppose, or how do you charge?
So we charge hourly to the minute, and we package things up. So something like a virtual assistant would start at between 25 and 30 an hour. And then social media and marketing would be a higher rate. But that's so that's that point about certain people work really well together, and you have to have a confidence. So for anyone listening to this that's thinking of starting up, don't worry if you feel uncomfortable. If you have to go with your instinct with certain people and think, well, actually have a confidence to say, well, I'm afraid I can't help you, but here's someone that could. And so pass them on. Yeah.
And listen, it doesn't matter how many times you tell people that, there will be VAs out there that will still go and take on the wrong people. I've taken on the wrong people. I'm sure you have. I know Adrian has. We've all done it, and it's the only way to learn. So sometimes go with your gut instinct. Occasionally you go with your gut instincts and your head's going, really, I shouldn't be doing this. And you do it and you realize in a very short period of time that you shouldn't take that client on. The best thing to do in that situation is actually fire your client. And that would be my best advice. Don't try and drag it on and hope that client's going to fit in with the way you work, or that you're going to fit in with the way they work. It rarely goes that way.
Very wise. Yeah.
Well, yeah, a wide word occasionally. Quickly before we sort of wrap the show up, Connie Stark has said life is about learning. That's going back to something we were talking about earlier on, and she says very interesting. Thank you. Connie was on recently, and Mike Allison was saying little bites. So I was saying chunking it down, little bites. Absolutely. Everything you do in business, if you get overwhelmed, break it down into little bits and pieces that you can work on. It makes life so much easier. Well, listen, Rebecca, thank you very much for joining us. Where can everybody find you, of course? Not that it's going to be too difficult to find you.
So getaheadva.com is our website, and we have that generally as our social media handle as well. So we'd love a like on our or a follow on our LinkedIn company page. We love LinkedIn. And by all means, just search my name and I pop up on various things. So LinkedIn is my sort of preferred social media platform. So I'd love to engage with you all on there.
Yeah, definitely. Adrian, what have you taken from this evening, my friend?
It's more like what I haven't taken, because I've kind of taken everything.
Good.
Yeah, it's, I've taken a lot about structuring a business properly. First of all, seeing how Rebecca done things starting from 10 years ago and where she is right now, and the fact that it pays to be consistent and actually have a proper plan and a vision in order to do things. And I learned quite a bit about how to delegate stuff and how to delegate the right people.
Very good. Yeah.
Well,
Rebecca.
Summary.
We're enriching ourselves all the time with this knowledge. I love it. Well, listen, if you want to find Rebecca, who's been an absolutely wonderful guest extraordinaire this evening, then there's some links. Adrian has dropped some links. I don't say we anymore because the royal we doesn't work because I haven't done this. Adrian's dropped some links in there so you can find Rebecca and Rebecca's business, which is Get Ahead VA. They're absolutely superb firm. If you want support in your business, then get in touch because I'm sure these guys can help. They've got franchises all over the place and they're growing. So, and if you are a VA and you do want to take a franchise, then I'm sure there is a button on there that you can tap to get involved on that side as well, Rebecca, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Good. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining us, Rebecca. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you want to know what else is going on with Essex Business Radio and the guests, then keep an eye out on our social media, Essex Business Radio, pretty well across the board, apart from Twitter, which is Essex Biz Radio. We will, after the show we did the other day, we're getting a Pinterest account as well, and we will be sorting a TikTok out at some stage during October. So look out for those as well. Of course, you can subscribe to YouTube and Facebook, and you can make sure you can follow us. Share this out to anybody that will be interested. We'd love you to do that. And if you're watching this after the show, not live, then put #replay and let us know where you are watching from. You're going to have to wait a little while for this to be turned into an audio podcast, which will be done in the next month or so. I was going to say week then. Well, I'm putting more pressure on myself. So that's going to be happening. And we've got loads of shows, loads of content, and there's going to be loads of stuff you're going to be seeing over October about what is going on with the show and other things that are going to be happening over the coming months. Thanks again, Rebecca. Big love to you.
Thank you, Guy. Loved it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adrian, my wonderful co-host, of course.
Thank you, Elliot and Rebecca.
Yeah.
And thank you all for watching and listening. I'm going to sign off for now. So I'm going to say ciao for now.
Brown cow.
Yeah.